Zoom, I think. All right. Call the meeting to order and start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, everyone. Welcome. We'll go ahead and move on to the second item on the agenda, which is to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
And a motion by Mary and a second by John. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Move on to the next item of business, which is to approve the consent calendar. It's the minutes of the previous meeting and the payment of bills.
So moved.
Motion by John, second by Doug. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Move on to item number 4, a presentation of 2023 legal activities. Joe Kruger, City Attorney.
There he is.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, go ahead, keep talking, and I'll adjust the volume on our end, Joe.
Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you for having me. As I'm sure you are aware, we provide both civil and criminal support to the city. For the criminal, it simply consists of crimes that are committed in Todd County. On the criminal side, just for some statistics, we had about 80 active cases that we handled this year. Of those 80, 50 were new cases so far through October. So I would anticipate probably being in the 60 or so range by the end of the year of new cases. I guess the mix of the crimes we're seeing are pretty standard or pretty much the same as we have in years past. You know, it's a mixture of DUIs, domestic assaults, misdemeanor level domestic assaults, disorderly conducts, theft, those types of things. We're not really seeing necessarily an uptick in any one particular area from years past. The one trend that we are seeing, not only in Staples, but in other jurisdictions that we prosecute for, is that either cases are not settling before trial or they're settling right on the eve of trial. And unfortunately, when they settle on the eve of trial, we still have to be prepared and ready to go to trial that day. And so it is creating, extra work and expense in having to prepare for those trials, and then end up, not having them because the defendant decides at the last minute they want to plead guilty. I don't know for sure why this is happening, but I suspect it has something to do with most of the hearings being done over Zoom. Prior to COVID, all hearings were in person. Since COVID, and now on a fairly permanent basis, unless the hearing is contested, like a trial or what's called a contested omnibus hearing, all hearings are by Zoom. I would say the vast majority of defendants that we prosecute qualify for public defenders, and probably are not meeting with their attorney on a regular basis prior to coming to court. Because hearings were in person prior to COVID, every time they came to court, they had an opportunity to meet with their attorney, even if they weren't meeting with them ahead of time, like they should be. Now with most hearings being on Zoom, there's not that opportunity to have that sort of sidebar in the hallway with their attorney before they go into their hearing. And I think, you know, in my experience, that's where a lot of these cases got resolved, was by having the defendant, their attorney, and the prosecutor all in the same building at the same time. So now I think a lot of defendants, because they're not communicating, you know, end up waiting until the very last moment when they realize that, you know, that they have a trial coming up in the next 2 days, before they finally decide they want to get serious about settlement discussions. Any questions about the criminal caseload before I switch gears?
Is there any attempt to, this Doug case, any attempt to resolve that, any, you know, legislatively? Let's see. I got my mic on now. That help?
Oh, there you go. I do.
Is there any attempt to resolve this as far as the meeting, or is it gonna go back to in-person trials here at some point in time, or is this something that's gonna be forever, or what's going on?
Well, the trials are in person now, but ideally, we would like to see the pretrial or settlement conferences, more of those move to in person, because usually those hearings are about a month before trial. So we haven't really geared up and ramped up our trial preparation that far out. And the court is obliging us somewhat in scheduling more of those settlement conferences in person, on gross misdemeanor cases, but not necessarily on misdemeanor cases. And just to kind of give you an example, you know, even on a very simple disorderly conduct case or something like that, obviously there's the preparation where we have to interview witnesses, interview officers, and do all of that preparation. But now with the, you know, the advent of body cameras and, you know, squad videos and things like that, any video that we're going to introduce at trial, the audio of that video has to be transcribed. So the court requires us ahead of time, usually about a week to 10 days before the trial starts, we have to submit a transcript of that video that we're going to use at trial. And that's a direct out-of-pocket cost to have that transcribed by a transcriptionist. So, you know, those are the things that we're trying to avoid as much as we can, but because defendants are waiting until the last minute, we really don't have a choice because we have to meet those scheduling deadlines.
So after all of that time, do most of them get pled down then too, to lesser charge or any of that, or how does that work?
Usually once we're on the eve of trial, you know, if they want to plead, they're going to generally plead straight up, and we're going to recommend whatever we would have recommended it had we gone to trial.
Okay.
And so we have that policy just in hopes to encourage people not to wait to the last minute and you know, get them to, if they're going to plead, to have them plead earlier in the process so we don't incur that extra work and expense.
Okay. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Joe, I think it's maybe worth mentioning on that whole scheduling thing. The other piece of that is, you know, with our police officers that are being called down to testify, you know, either stuff getting canceled or a last minute deal being done. A lot of times they're coming in on off days and that type of thing to do that. And so we end up, you know, as a city paying the officers, and they get the call on their way to Long Prairie that the trial has been postponed or whatever the case might be.
That really hasn't changed much.
There's got to be a better way though.
No, there's typically anywhere from 3 to 5 trials scheduled on the same day. And basically all 5 trials have to be ready to go, because if the number 1 trial settles or gets resolved, then number 2 has to be ready to go up and ready to go. So I guess in that regard, it is efficient because at least one case is going to get tried that day out of the 5 that might be scheduled. But for the other 4, it's kind of an inconvenience. If there's no other questions on that, on the civil side, we spent a significant amount of time this year dealing with hazardous buildings and hazardous rental properties. We had 2 hazardous buildings that are either have been condemned or are in the process of being demolished. We have had 3 rental properties that we have brought hazardous building enforcement against. At least 1 appears to be getting resolved. The other 2 are still in process. As far as ordinances this year that we worked on, we adopted a regulation of THC products. We amended the tobacco ordinance and added civil penalties as a remedy to deal with building code violations. We prepared a handful of memos to the council involving conflict of interest, the upcoming cannabis legislation, and reviewed that quite extensively. I did meet with the Charter Commission this year. We did a comprehensive review of the charter. I think at the end of the day, though, we decided that there wasn't anything pressing that needed to be addressed this year, but we would keep monitoring certain provisions of the charter. And then I also noted that there were a significant amount of the EDA loans that were satisfied this year. I think there was about a half a dozen that we prepared satisfactions for, so those have been resolved. Other than that, it's just kind of been ordinary business as usual. I think I mention this every year, but I do want to point out that I think the city has a wonderful staff in place. From my perspective, they're a pleasure to deal with, both in City Hall and at the police department. So I want to thank them for making my job easier and working with them and dealing with city business. So I'm happy to answer any additional questions.
I don't have a question, but thank you very much for taking time to come and be with us, because I always appreciate that every year, finding out just the level of your involvement and if there's anything that is new and striking that we have to deal with.
No, I'm happy to do that, and I thank you for accommodating me and letting me appear by Zoom here today. So, not that I don't enjoy visiting Staples, but I was in St. Cloud today, so it'd have been a long hike.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Joe.
Thanks, Joe.
All right, thank you very much.
Joe?
All right. Move on to item number 5. Consider approval of resolution 1917, updated fee schedule.
So in your packet is 1917, and that is the fee schedule basically with all of the fees that the city of Staples has established. And back on, it would be page 6 in your packet. as Joe just happened to mention a little bit ago, we did do a THC ordinance this spring. What we didn't do was establish the fee. So basically, for the THC sales, we're recommending a fee of $200 per year. That's in line with what a lot of other communities have established. That's the only proposed change to the fee schedule.
There aren't any other increases or anything from last year?
Well, we'll be looking at this again the end of December with recommendations for 2024.
Oh, okay, that's when we'll recommend any increases
Yep.
in, okay. So it's basically just to look at the fees with the addition of the THC.
Basically, the addition of the $200 THC
Okay.
licensing fee.
Entertain a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mary, second by John. Is there any discussion?
I do have a little bit here. And I'm gonna bring it up again, I think I've talked about it every year. The hangar fees, they haven't increased for years. I'm pretty sure when I rented a hangar out there, and that's been over 10 years ago, 12 years ago, probably more. They're 80 and 95, and they're still 80 and 95. I know that surrounding towns, they get considerably more than that for their same T hangars or whatever. So, that's one area. The other area, I joined the Staples Fire Department in 1981. And our standby fees were $300 and $200 for each additional hour after that. There's still that. We've bought ladder trucks, we bought new tankers, tandem axle tankers, we bought new pumpers, we've got oodles of grass fighting equipment. I kind of question whether or not that we shouldn't be raising those standby fees. I don't know what the offset is between cost to the city taxpayers versus the townships that we provide to, but it used to be, I think, right around 60-40. 60% was city taxpayers, and I think 40% was roughly for the township. And I don't know where that's at now, but I gotta believe that that's not that anymore. But I haven't asked you about that, but.
That's closer to 50-50 right now. So, and obviously in December when we're addressing this, we can talk about a lot of these. The fees, the 300, 200 is something that's actually in the service agreement with the townships. The standby fee itself is calculated based off that rolling 5-year average of fire calls, market value, and population served within each township. And, but like I say, that, comes out roughly to about that 50-50, so.
We talk about this more
Yeah.
in December, right?
We can discuss
Okay.
the areas where we want to see maybe some
You bet.
increases or question.
Yeah.
Sounds good. So, we just need the approval of the updated fee schedule with the THC.
What's it? That one there. That's where we're at.
Entertain a motion?
You did it, didn't you?
There's a motion.
Mary already did it in a second.
Oh, this was a discussion, I'm sorry. Yep, you're right. So let's go ahead and vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thanks, John.
Yep.
All right, let's move on to item number 6. Consider approval of resolution 1918, accepting donations.
So 1918 is in your packet on page 14. Basically 2 donations, one from the Fire Department Relief Association for $400 to going towards boulevard flags, and the other is from the Staples Lions Club for electrical work for the Christmas light display out at Pine Grove. I would recommend approval of the resolution.
So moved.
Motion by Doug, second by Blake. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
I abstain.
All right, motion carried. That brings us to item number 7, open forum. Come on up there.
Okay, thanks a lot.
All of you come up to the podium if you would for me. Thanks, Bob.
Well, it's nice being able to see the gears of government working a little bit. But hey, thanks a lot, you guys, for having me on. I kind of bugged Gerald to let me on.
I would just say who your name was.
Yep, so my name's Bob Schaefer. I'm a little out of town, but I'm here representing the Lions in the capacity, and mainly in reference to the Pine Grove Park project and the Christmas lights there. And first of all, there's 2 things I want to say. Thank you, guys, because we did a little donation, but you guys have put, you know, it's a sharing situation. So to put all that electrical work in, I think that was, and we're looking at a $7,000 bill, but anyway, you guys are going to be putting part of that. But so thank you, and that's a big deal for the Lions. We like to see that sharing. And then the second point I'd like to make is, so as chair this year, I was co-chair of the Park and Rec Committee that was in charge of the lights last year. So by default, now I'm the chair. So what happened last year, and previous to that, if you remember, it just never got launched. The project never got launched. It got late and things froze up. And so Graham Badger, you guys all know Graham at the Clark Station, he's the baker, and he's a right proper Englishman. He's not even a U.S. citizen. He doesn't even have a driver's license. And he said, out of matter of principle, he promised those guys, hey, they were really disappointed. Renee was kind of set everybody up and had the Rotary out there and the Lions and all these other community groups, and just never got done. Graham said he's going to get it done, and just on that principle, we got it launched last year. So now this year, and it was primarily the Lions that did it. And once we got it up and going, we just felt it wasn't commercially, we weren't going to charge anybody to come into that, $10. You know, if it was like it had been in the very beginning, that first year you guys did this, man, you could charge for that, but we just felt we couldn't. And we did okay. So this year, we'd like to keep the momentum going. So it's a big deal, sorry about that. It's a big deal to have the work done, just to have all those outlets in the park. It's what the Arboretum does. They've got those outlets dispersed last year and the years previous. We had all those extension cords, and when we had an ice storm and the snow would melt, everything's tied in the GFCIs, and boom, they would trip a whole section out, and it was just a headache. But anyway, so we're just pretty excited. So we dropped off a whole load of supplies tonight, and we're so happy to see you guys. Man, that thing's, the digging's going on. So my second reason is we're trying to make this thing a sustainable effort. Again, and I'm pretty encouraged. The Rotary guys said they bought into it. We've got the 93 Lions bought into it. I've got Valerie Turner with that REACH group. 2 weeks ago, they came out with 30 kids, and we got to start on getting stuff in, some of the background lights and all the tree wrappings and so on. And they're coming Thursday again. So that's one segment. Renee has been really positive, Renee Kroll with that'd be the chamber or whatever. But who more important than you guys, the people that love the city, and you guys love the city the most. So we want to keep you guys informed, and we'd like to get as many people to buy into this thing and build community. So we'll do it this year. We'll be the lead organization. But like any organization, you know, I talked about we're all aging. I like to say the Lions, we get new members here and there, but we're basically still a geriatric club, you know, a little bit. We got Blake here, thank God, you know, he's an infusion of youth.
Just so you know, this is being broadcast on YouTube.
They all know it, yeah, they all know. We won't deny that, yeah. But, so where we're at, we're really optimistic. We've gotten lots of advice from the Arboretum in that group in the Sertoma Club, so that's real positive. And then as far as everything else that's going on, I forgot my notes, so you guys are lucky. That's about as much as I want to put on that right now. So any questions? And the reason I'm asking for the buy-in, there's going to be ideas. You guys have ideas, you're going to see those. And if I can encourage you just to pop them over to me, if it's all possible, but over to the Lions. I'm just a kind of a plow jock from out here, but we don't have a central designer. You know, you need a designer. There's a lot of components that really have got to come together to make this thing go. The Sertoma Club, they have 4 nonprofits, and like when they need repairs, like last year, if you remember, the park was devastated in that ice storm. Everything came down. We've got a lot of busted up equipment. But so we're having the college is going to help us repair some of that. And part of the reason is you guys made a huge investment. I don't know the real number. All I know is for example, if you guys have driven through that thing, remember that Santa Claus and the sleigh with the reindeer going up? It's about a 25-foot display. Just to give you an idea, the best I could come up with, unless they really got to buy on that, it's $7,500 for one display. So to be good stewards of what you guys started, 5 years ago? I mean, there's a huge investment. Somebody has put the money in here and bought all this. Let's get this thing. That's part of what's motivating me, and I think that's what motivated Graham. But anyway, we just need to pull it together, and I'm just want to inform you guys and just ask for your help. You've got plenty to do. I'm the old retired guy, so I can do all that. But anything we'll certainly appreciate it. So, thanks for taking a minute and let me have at it. Any questions you guys have?
Thank you.
Yeah. So the bottom line is this could end up being, if we keep the momentum going, Pine Grove Park lends itself ideally for these lights. You can drive through there and make a tunnel of light. So I'm just saying, it's not going to happen this year, but I see it happening, and that's what I levered these guys into investing the electrical infrastructure. You guys made that investment, and I feel real responsible. And the Lions are going to we're going to pump quite a bit more money into it again this year, on top of what we've just done for the electrical. But
You got plenty of help then to do all this setup?
we so far, I don't want to say we do. If I do, they aren't going to show up. We're going to just keep shaking the trees, and shaking the bushes. We'll just, the Lions were tapped out a little bit last winter, to be honest. We did the whole thing. I hate to say that the Lady Lions thought that was going to be our party, and they kind of walked away from it. I don't know whatever happened there. You know how those things happen in clubs. So they're on board this year. So we're pretty optimistic that, hope the Lady Lions don't see them.
Thanks, Bob.
Yeah, thanks.
Any other open forum? If not, move on to the city administrator's report.
Couple of things, you probably saw on the updated agenda, a THC license application, which we pulled off. The background wasn't completed yet, so we pulled it off. But one thing I wanted to get input or feedback from the council, in our THC ordinance that was drafted last spring based off of the 2022 statute, exclusive liquor stores were not eligible for THC. 2023 statute basically authorized exclusive liquor stores to sell THC products. Talking with Joe on this, basically that state statute trumps our ordinance. So the question is, do we want to amend the ordinance or just let it ride, knowing that one piece isn't clear, but knowing that in January of 2025 all of that goes away. There's basically 2 exclusive liquor stores that we have in town. One of them already has a tobacco shop that is able to do the THC stuff. The other is Liquor Depot.
So no matter what changes we were to make, they're gonna go away all in 2025.
Our THC ordinance and our ability to license.
Right. But it'll be all through next year too.
The THC goes away in January of 25, when the Office of Cannabis Management takes over. So there's a cost, there's a cost for publishing and that type of thing, but it's, I mean, it's doable if we want to amend that and just remove that ineligibility, basically removing 2 lines.
So what changes will we be making in
Allowing
allowing the liquor store to do this, which they can do according to state statute, but we don't have in our ordinance?
Right, the state statute supersedes what we have in here, and all it is, and this is again based off the 2022, there's a section in there on ineligibility, and it lists exclusive liquor store. No license shall be issued to an exclusive liquor store as defined in Minnesota statute 348.101. Based off of what was in law in 2022. 2023, they came back and cleaned that up and granted exclusive liquor stores the right to sell.
Have we had inquiries from the other liquor store?
No, just
What's selling
the liquor depot put in an application. And it actually took this is the cannabis statute. Took quite a while just to find that exclusive liquor stores got permission to do it effective at the passage of this. So they're able to do it by state law. Our ordinance just doesn't jive with it, but our ordinance is gonna be null and void in 14 months anyway.
Is there any issue with our ordinance being in the state it is for that long? If it's, I mean, it's basically,
From what Joe says, that, because I asked him the question, should we amend the ordinance? And he said, in the interest of clarity, we can. Otherwise, I'm of the opinion that provision is now preempted by state law.
we're not gonna make any.
I don't anticipate getting another application from an exclusive liquor store.
No, there isn't one.
What I don't quite understand is that all the time that I was a cop, I thought that our city ordinances could be more restrictive, but not less restrictive. And that seems to have gone out the window, although I think the state law allows liquor stores to be open until 2 o'clock in the morning, but we say 1 o'clock. And and that's just an example of being more restrictive. I don't understand it. The city government is supposed to have control, and state law basically is supposed to be somewhat of a guideline, but the city can enact ordinances. I'm not saying prohibit it maybe per se, but I don't know. But I thought they could make it more restrictive, and which might include prohibiting it. I don't know. I don't know if we're getting good advice.
I asked that same question of Joe, and, basically cities are allowed to impose quote unquote reasonable regulations. In the case of our THC, you've got to be 500 feet from schools, playgrounds, that type of thing is one reasonable regulation that we put on. Because the law changed making them eligible, convenience stores are already eligible, to sell THC, because convenience store doesn't have the specific granting of what they can sell. If you ever look at go in and look at the liquor store state statute, it lists about a dozen things that they can sell, including ice. They specify in the statute that liquor stores can sell ice. So in 2022, when the whole THC thing came to be in the dark of night, they didn't change that provision for exclusive liquor stores. They cleaned that up in 2023, But, so, I mean, basically, you know, the opinion of our city attorney is that not allowing a liquor store to do it when all these other places can would not be reasonable. So, like I said, it's his opinion that
Aren't the
state
number of-
statute supersedes it.
Aren't the number of these cannabis stores or places that can sell cannabis, isn't there a limited number of places that can do that? What, in the county or
Well,
city?
this is where it gets confusing, because the THC or the low dose edible thing is, even though it's part of the cannabis statute, it's not the same as the cannabis retailer. So the cannabis retailers, each jurisdiction has to allow at least one license or licensee for every 12,500 population. So obviously, we've got 3,000, we still have to allow one
1/4 of one.
for cannabis.
Well, that's per county, right?
Well, that's per jurisdiction, so, you know, Todd County likely will have two, I don't know exactly what their population is, but if they choose to limit it to one per 12,500. So Wadena County, same deal. So we'll have to see how it shakes out, but there's so many things in here that they don't even have, a clear understanding at the state level on. as
I
far
don't
as
think
the-
that they got a clear understanding of most of it, because it's just, my understanding is that, and I know this off the subject, but I think we should have a discussion anyway, because my understanding is that you can have 5 pounds of pot. I think each person can have for personal use 5 pounds of pot. I think that's what it supposedly is. And I'm gonna say that, I'm just gonna say this, when I was on the task force, I did a guy that for 5 or 6 pounds of pot, and he handed it to me in a 50, one of them tall, black garbage bags. That's what I got it in. That's a lot of pot.
So if the counties have to make a decision on what they're going to allow, and then we kind of act accordingly after that? We're sort of gonna act, or we're gonna adopt stuff after that?
No, not necessarily, but the state statute basically has that one license for cannabis retail, different from the low-dose edible thing. Here's a map. There was, by October 1st, I believe anybody currently selling THC edibles had to register with the Department of Health, and that's the map of those that are doing it. Everything from municipal liquor stores to convenience stores to Super One and Cub Foods and, you know, but they're all over the place. And so you have to register. There's no cost to do it. They just want to know who's selling it and make sure that they're set up with the Department of Revenue to collect the 10% sales tax on the sale of those products. But, so it's, like I say, it's kind of confusing because you got the THC edible stuff, which are these folks, and coming, you know, to us probably in a year, will be a lot more clarity on all of the actual new cannabis statute from the 2023 legislative session. And this will lump in medical cannabis, the THC stuff, so we as the city of Staples will not even license any of this stuff. We can adopt regulations, you know, distance from schools, you know, that type of thing, zoning districts, different things like that. But it will not be up to us to license them. It'll all be the state.
If the county decide, let's say, just say, we got 2 counties here, so let's say the counties that formulate our city decide that they're gonna go by the 12,500 or whatever that is, and they decide to, so if they get their 1 or their 2 licenses within their county, then would we have to have an ordinance that says we prohibit or we do we have something that would state that, or is it gonna be automatic because they've already met the requirements of, you know what I'm saying? I mean, if we don't want one to be here, but we have to, unless they get their two or their jurisdiction that excludes us, do we have to have something that still protects us from that?
Yes, I mean, we will.
You
Yeah,
will,
You know,
okay.
I'm assuming, and it obviously it'll be up to the council, but I'm assuming that we would adopt, you know, basically one license that would be available within the city of Staples. Now, if Todd County has already exceeded the number of licenses, I believe that would preclude another one from opening in Todd County, city of Staples.
That would
But
supersede it, right?
So are we,
clarity on any of that.
Yeah.
do we have to, as a city, have to have one of those in our town, or we can
No, you don't
choose
have to
not
have one, but as my understanding is that you have to allow at least one if somebody wants to come, and those thresholds of 1 per 12,500 haven't been met.
So if Todd County, if there's two in Long Prairie, or one in Broadville, one in Long Prairie, then we're off the hook from on the Staples side of, or I mean, the Todd County side of Staples, but they could still open one up by Johns, because it's in Wadena County, right? And then if Wadena County says they're gonna allow that, and they can only have two, and they put one in Sebeka and one in Wadena, we're off the hook, so we just gotta hope that they go off well.
Well, I guess it isn't gonna matter,
Okay.
they're gonna get
Grow
it
your own.
anyway, you know, but it's
I think, you know,
It just-
you look at this has happened since this summer, basically.
It just amazes me, even as long ago as 2 years ago, they were bragging about suing RJ Reynolds for, whatever, $17 billion or something because people got lung cancer from smoking. And now they're with open arms welcoming smoking. Who are they gonna sue now?
Can't
When that
comment on that.
backfires on them. Yeah, that's crazy.
So revise ordinance or let it ride?
Right.
Let her ride.
Let it ride.
Or we'll spend $1,000 on something.
There you go.
I lost my agenda.
There's only one place that can actually apply for it.
I think one additional, there's already one.
Right,
So
Ernie's
it's only-
has it, so it's just the other liquor store and they're already.
Yep.
So, kind of related that, just an FYI, in the database, you've got basically Ernie's and Orton's that are on here. So, we're sending out our THC ordinance and license application to those two, so. And again, we'll license them basically once, so, before the state steps in. So a couple other things, you probably have seen this, but Thursday and Friday, BNSF and MnDOT will have the 210 6th Street rail crossing shut down, replacing the crossing panels in the tracks. So they'll be routing everybody to the west and back over via Wisconsin Avenue.
County Road 9, is that where they're going, or? No?
I
I mean, we're
don't,
gonna put up signs and route them around on the
oh,
overpass?
there's gonna be about 40 signs. Just wait, I saw the maps.
Oh, my gosh.
Been working with Bernie Mum and a variety of property owners on snowmobile trail tweaking. Obviously, wherever there's open space that the Snowmobile Trail Association has a trail on, we try to develop that, so make them move it. So, doing a little rerouting. We've got the Tree City application in. So we'll get back on the rotation for that. Sent out insurance open enrollment stuff to all of our employees and retirees that are still on the schedule. 212 Wisconsin finally did get the court order allowing us to demo that. So sentence to serve is coming. They're gonna finish cleaning that out. We'll board it up, do the asbestos inspection, abatement if necessary, and try to get it demoed here before the heart of winter.
Awesome.
So.
You didn't say so.
Are they gonna be instructed not to haul any more garbage in there? They've been hauling stuff in there.
We will, yeah, we're gonna secure it and, get the asbestos taken care of as fast as we can. So. And then, last and maybe most importantly, reminder of the Rotary Rose Sale, Thursday and Friday, taking place down at Williams Floral. You'll be greeted by smiling Rotarians who'll gladly take your money for a good cause. So I'll see each and every one of you.
I've been on my best behavior this year. I don't think I'll be needing them.
That's all I have unless there's questions.
I move that we adjourn.
And a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Meeting adjourned.